Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 100 of the Let's Talk Yoga podcast. I am so excited to actually say those words out to you today. I really did not think that 2 years ago when we started this podcast that we would be reaching 100 episodes. I thought we'd run out of content in the first 20 episodes and I wouldn't know what to talk about. But it's really, I'm lost for words when I try to express how I feel about this mini milestone that we've hit together. But I cannot start today's show without calling out attention to a few people who have made this milestone possible. Firstly, my podcast producer, Shay, who has been with me since day one, quite literally, and who honestly puts up with me on the back end in the podcast stuff and always makes the podcasts come out really sounding amazing, taking care of everything on the back end. I truly wouldn't be able to do it without her. And then come all the amazing guests who come once, twice, thrice, and more to the show and constantly keep giving and giving and giving. And they make the podcast truly a special place for yoga teachers. And then lastly, and most importantly, all the listeners, thousands and thousands of you who come every week and learn and listen and participate in these conversations and really just invested in your own yoga journey and in the journey of being better yoga teachers and representing yoga in a certain way. I couldn't ask for more. I just wanted to say I'm deeply humbled and thank you for being here. This is episode 100. Hi, my name is Arundhati and you're listening to the Let's Talk Yoga podcast. I'm an ex-Bollywood dancer turned yoga and wellness educator. I've built a 6-figure business as an immigrant, woman of color yoga teacher with no business background, no handstands, pure instinct, and the free information found on Google. If you love doing yoga and you dream of teaching it someday, this podcast is for you. We go over everything from doing and teaching yoga to scaling a small business, living a modern yoga lifestyle, and so much more. You'll find interesting, fun, raw conversations along with some tips, tricks, strategies, and insights in this podcast. So grab your cup of chai and let's jump in. We're doing something slightly different for today's episode. The topic I have chosen is called What is Advanced Yoga According to You? Okay, the topic is what is advanced yoga? What does it mean according to you? And I reached out to 5 guests who have been on the podcast before and they've been on the show more than once. And I wanted their insight as to what advanced yoga means to them personally. So in today's episode, you will hear snippets of what advanced yoga means to them. I reached out to 5 guests and the only guest who currently is unavailable is, my dear friend Prasad Rangnekar. He is on a 2-month silent retreat. So he will be missing being part of this episode. But if you've listened to this podcast before, you know he is one of my absolutely most favorite people to talk to about yoga on the planet. And I wish he could be a part of this, but he's on a silent retreat. So I'll probably have him back soon and we'll make him part of a different celebration. Okay. So that's the only guest that I wanted and I couldn't get on today's show. Okay. So to kick things off, we begin with Vikram Jeet Singh. As many of you already know, Vikram has been on episode 68, 79, 80, and 96 of the Let's Talk Yoga podcast in the past couple of years. Here's what Vikram says about advanced yoga.
Namaste to all listeners and thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Aru, for this wonderful community you created where we can share our journey and what we have learned, on the way so far. I'm looking forward to many more insightful and inspiring conversations on the Let's Talk Yoga podcast. So for me, to advance in one's yoga practice starts with understanding that what one might be doing in an asana class on one's yoga mat is the starting point of this journey. And absolutely no amount of accomplishments or mastery as defined by you or by someone else for you, I think has the potential to take you all the way. And by that, I mean the end goal, at least for me, which is the end of suffering. The asanas can and will instill in you the strength and the discipline needed to stay on this path, and definitely will help you build some discernment along the way, discernment to make the right choices in your practice, who you're practicing with, what you practice. But the real advancement is still a ways to go. And, I always like to go back to the source. So Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Sutra 2.46, all of you know this, Sthira Sukhamasana. The posture should be stable and comfortable. So a great way to know if you're advancing in your practice is to check in with that every day. If you're able to bring the same stability and comfort in your asana practice, which is a task by itself. And then if you can take it out into all aspects of your life, in all the interactions that you have, in all of your thoughts, your actions, your words, you're definitely headed on the right way. That to me is the sign of an advanced practitioner. From a self-reflection perspective, if you are constantly working on that, I think you're definitely in the right path of advancement, if you will. And, yoga it's a lifelong relationship, multiple lifetimes. If you ask me, it's not an experience. It's not a lifestyle. It's not an activity, a hobby, and that's my anchor, this sustenance, this continuity, this constant evolution. That's my anchor for staying connected to this practice. I hope that was helpful. And thank you, Aru, for this opportunity to share my thoughts.
Up next, we have Indu Arora. Indu has been on the Let's Talk Yoga podcast right from the very beginning. She was on episode 9, 18, 74, and 89. Here's Indu's message about advanced yoga. She also left me a personal message which I have decided to include as part of this snippet.
When the yoga practice becomes the state of yoga, it is advanced yoga. When your yoga goes beyond the surface of your mat and expands and extends to the surface of the earth, which means that you talk yoga, you walk yoga, you laugh yoga, you sleep yoga. It means that it touches all aspects of your life. It is advanced yoga. When the practice brings a sense of contentment, santosha, stillness, sthirya, a sense of quiet, mauna, these are signs of advanced yoga. When the yoga practices lead to self-inquiry, atma-vichara, when it leads to an everyday practice of contemplation, chintan and manan, this is sign of advanced yoga. Or in the words of one of my teachers, when all the external poses and posing becomes internal kriyas, it is advanced yoga. Eventually, all yoga has to transform into internal kriyas, internal practices. May you seek that yoga. May you become that yoga. May you live that yoga. That is all I can wish for, hope for. And my dear friends, I walk along with you as a student in this journey, on this path, on this pilgrimage called yoga. Yogo va saphale bhuyat. This is for you, Arundhati, and all the listeners of Let's Talk Yoga. This means that may your yoga, your efforts of yoga, bear the fruits of your sadhana. I know this podcast is not just a podcast for you. This is an extension of yoga.
I hope you are enjoying this episode as much as I am. Up next, we have Savira Gupta, who has been on the show on episode 32, 47, 51, and 81. Here's what advanced yoga means to her.
Thank you, Arundhati, for having me on this 100th episode, and congratulations for your achievement. What is advanced yoga? Well, I put yoga and spirituality, it's a combination, it's together. And most people tend to see yoga or spirituality as someone who can sit in meditation or chant beautifully or do a handstand or a headstand and hold it for a certain number of breaths or minutes. These things are great and they're there to sort of guide us. But to me, advanced yoga is implementing or transcending those teachings into every little action in my life. How I interact with myself, how I interact with family, with community, with nature, the condition and the maintenance that one has to keep constantly in the mind, because what happens in the mind reflects on the outside as well. So spirituality or yoga should permeate, should transcend, should infiltrate in everything that I do. To me, that is advanced yoga. It is one of the most trickiest, difficult aspect of practicing yoga in daily life. So I'm not much into moving my body into complicated postures. I'm more interested in living the teachings. And to me, that is my advanced yoga. Thank you.
And we move to Kaya Mindlin, who has been on this show on episode 46, 61, and 72. I'm giving you these numbers, so if something resonates with you on the show, you can go back and listen to the specific guests themselves. And here's what advanced yoga means to Kaya.
Happy anniversary, Let's Talk Yoga, and congratulations, Arundhati, for putting together such incredible content for your listeners. This is Kaya. To me, the deeper yoga is the practices and the viewpoints that treat all of life, including the body, the mind, relationships, and wisdom seeking, all as a part of a spiritual pilgrimage in which we are making our way gently and intentionally toward the sacred. In deeper yoga, we slowly also begin to recognize that every step of practice and study along the way is also sacred. I think of advanced yoga as an interiorization, a softening, a revelation that opens you gently like a flower to reveal the truth that you are. And the one that has yogic mastery has utterly softened and surrendered to the deeper reality that is the basis of everything. And I think because of this, such a person is always attuned to the divine quite spontaneously and always acting in accordance with the cosmic order of the manifestation. What are the practices that lead one to be able to have this kind of self-mastery? I would say that it includes treating the body as a pilgrimage site, gently and lovingly, living day to day, every moment in accord with a cosmic order that has to do with a kind of what we might call yogic lifestyle. It includes authentic study of yogic teachings or shastra with teachers who are stewards within the tradition and know how to convey those teachings to you in a way that makes them meaningful and purposeful and personal. And I think all of this put together, practices for your body, practices of wisdom, practices that use sacred sound and devotion, and practices that bring a yogic attitude and action into every moment of life, all of this together comprise the deeper practices of yoga.
And finally, we wrap up with Alexandria Crow, who has been on episode 54 and 73 of the Let's Talk Yoga podcast. And here's what she says is advanced yoga to her.
So what is advanced yoga? Like most people, I think that in the West, or in this day and age, we're led to believe it has something to do with poses, something to do with mastery of poses, achievement, collecting of poses, perfecting of them. And it's about doing and gaining, and there's somewhere to get. And it's all about this kind of external thing, even when it seems like it's not. It's very much about, what can you change? What can you control? What can you manipulate in some kind of way so that things end up being just like you want them to be? And what advanced yoga really is, the longer I go on with this, what I would love to share with everyone is that, it sounds so trite at the beginning. It's a hard concept to hold for any of us, that it's actually not about doing and achieving and perfecting and fixing and altering. It's about things actually, being okay, that inside you're okay. And there's this, need to think you have to add something or subtract something or alter things in this way or that. And, there's just really no need for that at a fundamental level, that you can do all of those things. Absolutely. But they won't change who you are on a fundamental level. You're already okay, no matter what. And everything that you want to do or get rid of is an experience to have, but it doesn't change who you fundamentally are. It's this really deep work of layer after layer after layer, peeling back all these desires to control things and alter them because we think it's going to change our fundamental sense of self, our fundamental essence. And in truth, the more you practice, the more you realize that everything is an experience to have, but you're already okay. You're already all right. Nothing about you that needs fixing except thinking that you need to be fixed, that you fit within the whole. You're a piece within the whole. So that part, anytime you get on your mat and you think, oh, if only I could, or oh, if it was only like, or I wish it was, the hardest thing to do is to let it be. But that's the work. So that's what advanced yoga is to me.
So there you have it, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed this slightly different 100th episode celebration of ours. I wanted to just start the conversation about what advanced yoga actually means. There's no straightforward answer, and these are conversations that I plan to get into in the episodes ahead. But I just wanted to plant a seed of thought as to what do we define as advanced, and is that even a measurement that's valid in yoga today? For me, advanced yoga is just when you're able to take your yoga off your little rectangle mat and into your world, into your life, into your day-to-day moments. It's literally when the physical yoga ends, the mental yoga begins. And while there's so much I want to say about this, right? And I will save that for another conversation. I will say that the practice of yoga has made me a kinder, more compassionate, reflective, and definitely more grounded as a person. Instead of reacting, I noticed that my first instinct is now to reflect. And yes, this isn't set in stone. It's a constant practice. There's a tug of war that happens all the time. But the more yoga I do, and when I say yoga, I mean asana and beyond asana, the more I'm learning to live in harmony with myself and those around me. And this has definitely increased my ability to be of service, to accept circumstances and people, and to really show up as just being more kind and compassionate and a better version of myself in many aspects of my life, if not all of them. So I really hope that your yoga is helping you become a better version of yourself. I hope hearing from these guests has left you inspired, and I will be back next week with episode 101. I do have a couple of important announcements before I sign off. I will be dropping all the details for my pranayama yoga teacher training next week. So please make sure you are on the wait list. Just click the first link in the podcast description so you do not miss out on the November 2022 training. If you have enjoyed one or all 100 episodes of the Let's Talk Yoga podcast, please take a moment to leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you are listening on Spotify, a listener recently told me that you can now leave ratings on Spotify. And I see that some of you have already done that. Thank you so much. But for everyone else who listens to Spotify or listen to music on Spotify, please take a moment to rate the podcast there as well. So it helps us bring this free yoga content, this timeless resource, into the hands of other yoga teachers and yoga students. That's all from my end today. I will see some of you next week in the weeks ahead in the Mindful Yoga Teachers Club. Once again, everything I'm talking about can be found at letstalk.yoga, and I will see you soon. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.